Alright, I think that we got Twitch kind of figured out. Yeah, audio seems to be doing good. Sweet. How's it going? We're back at it, doing another graphic design stream here. And I was trying to get it figured out because I was doing reruns. That's like a newer feature of Twitch. I don't know how long it's actually been part of Twitch. It's new to me. But I just figured out the whole rerun thing, and I was doing that. And apparently I couldn't be showing a rerun and then trying to go live straight from that. I had to like stop the rerun and then start going live. Anyway, that's just some like technical stuff, but I think the reruns is kind of cool because I can be kind of recycling some of the older content, so that way it's not so much like a TV show, right? Like TV shows, like they show the episode once and then they do reruns just so that way people that weren't there for that time get to go see it. Anyways, I thought it was kind of cool just so that way I don't have an offline screen on my channel all the time. But we are going to kind of pick up. I feel like that we've kind of been going back and forth between what we do. We've been doing a lot of the Photoshop mockup stuff. I think I said that right. It sounded weird. My music's a little loud. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Just on my end. It's going to stay the same for you guys. But we've been kind of going back and forth between doing Photoshop mockups for some of my older projects and just kind of putting those into a mockup form. And then going back and forth between that and then also designing the actual portfolio layout itself. So if you guys are new, I'm designing a portfolio book for my graphic design work. And part of that includes getting... So if you think of like in terms of like motion graphics, right? There, you got to have all the footage, and then you have to design it into a motion graphic. So I've been kind of having this balance of creating all the footage, so Photoshop mockups, making sure all my work looks nice and pretty, and also creating something for all that work to live in. So that would be the portfolio book itself, portfolio website, any sort of handouts or sort of leave behinds that I create. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I did a stream doing some layouts for the portfolio book itself, along with I think 3 streams of just doing mock-ups. But so we're back at it again, doing some more layouts, and I'll kind of show you guys where we are at for that. So if I go over here, okay, cool. So I've created some more sort of layouts, and what I'm doing right now is creating you would kind of consider them like a chapter opener. And this would be, so like right before a new project in the book, there's this sort of either 1 spread or 2 spread sort of design that introduces the new project. And so what I've kind of decided is I want to use a lot of quotes in my book. So so this would be kind of like one thing. And whenever you see this sort of gray image here, that would be like the little X'd out box here. That would be like for an image, and I need to kind of figure out what type of images I want to use for that. But I've got, so this would be like the first spread, and then followed by a little bit more information here. And so you can see there's obviously some type here, and then again with an image over here on the right hand side. And then part of this too is also creating what the like the navigation, or people call it the running heads, which includes the page number, title of the book. This is sort of my working title at the moment, called Lessons Learned So Far. Just the idea that this whole design journey is me learning different lessons, and I like listening to people talk, and I really like people, like really famous quotes. I have a thing with quotes. I really like quotes because then it's an idea that really resonates with me, but if somebody doesn't agree with it, then I can like, hey, Steve Jobs said that. You're gonna disagree with Steve Jobs or something like that. I guess that's why I like quotes, is because you can really you use them to kind of persuade others in your way of thinking, which sounds a little manipulative, but it's not like that. So over here on the bottom too, let me selected works 2014 through 2017. Projects, and then like I would like circle one of these as whichever project it is, and then like page numbers obviously. So that's sort of like what a running head entails. So yeah, my plan is I've got some sketches. I've been working on creating some sketches over the last couple days, and I mean I got like 3 pages of sketches. So I'm just kind of picking and choosing which sketches I like the best, and then seeing how they translate to a digital format. There's some typeface choosings, or I need to choose some typefaces as well. This spread here, I'm using Gotham as the serif, and then very sort of sparingly, and then for the body copy mainly, I'm using Chaparral Pro. Gotham is the one that I use for my own personal branding. Here, I'll show you what my logo looks like. Actually, you guys have seen my logo if you guys follow me. Here, this is what my logo looks like. This is my logo, so I use Gotham for this logo. So I thought it'd make sense to kind of use Gotham in my portfolio book as well. So that's why I'm using Gotham here. I'm using some other typefaces on some other spreads. This is another one that I kind of created. This one here, I'm using Minion Pro as the serif, and then Proxima Nova as the sans serif. So Proxima Nova is kind of similar to Gotham. It's a little bit more narrow and not so square as Gotham, which I like Gotham as a display face more, or like for like small details as well. Like for the running head, I think Gotham works really well. For the body copy, Gotham isn't that good because it's very square and it's just not very readable. I mean, there's a difference between legibility and readability. If something is legible, that means if somebody puts a gun to your head, you can read it. Something that's readable is something that's easier to read. It's easy to kind of look at. It's easy on the eyes, for lack of a better phrase. So this is another spread, and then if you kind of see this little gradient I have here in the middle, that's just for my own personal knowledge to kind of, or personal benefit rather, so that way I can kind of comprehend where the bend is in the book. Because you don't want to have something like really, like you don't want to have like the text like right there, because then like up until like this point right here, you're gonna have a hard time reading that because it kind of gets sucked into the middle of the book, right, the gutter there. So I have an inch margin, inside margin, so that way I have the type a little bit more readable, and it kind of sits where it would be centered on the page, I guess, just because the inside isn't very usable. If you have an image, throw the image in there, because that's going to look weird if you cut the image off. But for type, you don't want the type to be that close to the inside. Unless you do it like a lay flat book, which means that the book actually lays flat. It's very sort of true to its name, right? The book lays flat. But for most books, like, I mean, I'm not doing a soft cover book like this, but this would be what you can kind of consider like a lay flat book, right? You can see all the way to the inside margin. It's kind of hard to see. Whereas like a hardcover book, which is what I'm doing, isn't gonna be able to lay that flat. So hopefully that makes sense. So what I am doing is I have sort of two newer designs as a work in progress. My goal is to have 3 of them done. So this would be kind of like the first, and then this would kind of be the second one. So it's kind of like a 1-2 sort of thing. And then this is all just placeholder text, obviously. So the old lorem ipsum. So that's there, and so then another image right there. So I'm just kind of playing around with sort of like layout, composition, and typefaces, and then all kind of sticking true to sort of like a style that I've created. This is sort of the look and feel that I'm going for typography wise. So kind of like a mix and a blend between serif and sans serif, with maybe a little bit of handwritten stuff in there as well, because I really like the idea of handwritten type. I'm a little bit playful like this with things crossed out, maybe some gradients as well. There's some gradients up in here, gradients there. So maybe trying to figure out a way to make that work with my spreads. I really like the clean look. So my plan is to kind of make everything look nice and clean right now, and then go back and then see how we can kind of humanize it a little bit, right? With some handwritten type, make it a little bit more fun with maybe some gradients and some color. I'm just working in black and white at the moment, mainly because I want it to be sort of like a black and white palette, but mainly just, and then again, just because it's easier to sort of work in a black and white format before you go to start using color. Because if you're working on figuring out the composition, like, it's very hard to kind of think about color and images and everything before you think about composition. You want to make sure that the page looks good before you start throwing things in there, because then you're just thinking about way too much stuff, and it gets to be difficult. So anyway, so that's kind of what I'm working on right now, is just kind of refining some of these, and then adding some more content to it all. So alright, so now if you sort of like a stream rule, right? If I'm ever looking kind of this direction, I'm either responding to some comments in the chat box, or I got iMessage over here open, so I'm like texting people. I also have a few other tabs open here, just like for reference, and I also got my mood board over there. So that's kind of why I might be looking in that direction. All right, so now what did I do? Am I still on that? Close that. Let's go back here. You're in the right file. Cool. All right, sweet. We're gonna get kind of get working now. So this is gonna be kind of a chill stream. I'm just gonna be kind of working my way through this, kind of brainstorming. So if it ever looks like I'm thinking too hard, it's probably because I am. So I copied some of these spreads from my last stream, and I'm just gonna kind of rework them a little bit, and I'm going to take the color out of them first, because I was trying to match the color to another project. So what I want is just to be able to use these without color at the moment. That actually looks cool, right? So thinking about how I want to lay all this out too is something to think about. So this here actually would be utilizing what people refer to as a short sheet. So this sort of gray line here, this gray page and this black page are full-size pages, and then this white thing right here, this white container is a shorter sheet. So it's sort of like a shorter sheet, and then you flip the shorter sheet, and then it reveals this image underneath here. But then that black is still there. It's not like this black is on a different page. It's not like it's a new version of this, I guess. Hopefully that, I mean, I can't think of any other way to explain this other than these are 3 pieces of paper right here, and the white sheet is shorter. So the white page turns, and then this is the back of the white sheet. So a critique that I got on this one here is that there was too many vertical segments. So I need to try and figure out a way to make this still utilizing that short sheet, but not in a way to make it look like it's broken up this much. And I think the thing that's causing that is the fact that this gray thing right here is different than this. So my plan is to make this all just one image. Actually, I'll delete that. Bring this here. So now this thing will be one image, so that way when you're over here, this image will still be the same image, and then instead of like breaking it up, it'll still look like one unified thing. So it'll be 3 elements instead of 4, which I think helps a little bit. And so we'll see. And then also this here, I got the critique that this was a little bit heavy, so I'm gonna make that not Roman, but make that light instead. So we'll see how that feels. I personally didn't think that it was that bad. Let's see. Now these all printed out. It does get a little bit heavy, but I don't think going to light is going to be the thing that helps it. She did suggest that my teacher suggested that I could just add a little bit more tracking to all this. So if I just add 10 tracking, maybe not in that one, or what is it? Is this line here? That's a bad rack though. I think it looks better without that. Okay, so I think maybe that'll help. Just adding that tracking there. If you think about it, you want to be able to run a sheet of paper through each individual letter. It's not always possible, but it helps. I don't think this needs to be optical. Maybe it doesn't matter? So we'll see if that helps. What sort of tracking do we have up here? We only got 25 up there. I think that looks a little tight as well. So we'll bump this up to did that do anything? What did I do? Let's click on all these here, and we'll just make that 50. Or maybe that's what does 100 look like? 100 is way too much. Okay, we'll do 75 maybe. That's a different sort of style that I'm not necessarily going for, so I think we're just gonna stick with 50 on those. Which essentially just doubles it. So alright, and then sort of like a broader sort of critique on this too is that it felt a little safe, which I am a little unsure of, just because I'm looking at a lot of the designs that this is only my second round of designs that I'm working on right now. So, I mean, obviously I'm not just going to be out of a 15-week course. In reality, I need to have this done in 12 weeks. But the critique was that this felt a little safe. It felt a little sort of in my comfort zone. So I need to sort of take that information and then figure out what can I do to make it not feel like that. The thing that was kind of confusing me was just as I look at a lot of the stuff that has been done before in the past and things that have been completed at the end of the semester, and mine I feel, without trying to feel a little bit too like, what is the word, conceited, I guess, about my work. Is conceited the right word? I think conceited is the right word. Just feeling like my work's the best and there's nothing I need to do to improve it. Without being like that, I honestly felt like my work was like pretty on par with what some other people are doing. And I was a little confused on why, like, she would say this is like in my comfort zone and something to avoid, because this is some stuff that's made it to finals before. Anyways, that's just sort of my thoughts on this. So I think maybe adding the image will be helpful, and then something else maybe I can do is to maybe reduce the amount of space over here. I mean, I like the amount of black space over there, but maybe that's not the right thing. So, all right. Well, let's think about this in a little bit. I was trying to look at some of my other sketches to see if I can include some elements from that. Destination Moon. So that's the name of this project. I'm already using that there, so let's, if I do this, Oh, and then the other thing too is that this is going to be a short sheet, so I need to make sure that I'm working within that gutter that I had talked about before. It really throws off my rag at the moment, but we'll just see. We'll kind of work with that for now. I like this. I really like this design, so I don't want to mess it up too much. Luckily, I think a lot of the things that I'm going to be able to do to make this look a lot nicer is just the very small typographic details. So something that I really liked on one of my other spreads was just how I did the running head down here, like the page numbers. I really like how I have the page number set up, the use of the serif mixed with the sans serif. It's just very, I feel like it's very clean without being like too crazy. And then I kind of reflect that same thing up here where I type the project name out. So just something to kind of think about. Checking out to see if we got any activity over here in the chat room. It looks like we got either one or a couple people watching. Feel free to type in the chat. I love talking with people, and that's sort of like one of the main reasons why I do the stream is because when I'm making all these designs anyways, right? And I'd like to be able to just kind of show them off. Or what am I trying to say? I'm not show them off. I like to be able to help other people along the way. So if I'm doing doing some sort of a design and anyone's got any questions, I like to be able to help and sort of just help inform people. Because I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing design for almost 10 years now, and I still learn new things on when I watch people stream. So plus it's just fun to kind of just feel like I'm just hanging out here doing my design work and be able to talk to other people. Where's my mouse? Why isn't my mouse moving? That was weird. Okay, anyways, so I was just looking at this paper really quick to see if my text was too big or not. Just trying to only use one text box here if possible. So, I don't know. What do you? What do you guys think? I mean, I'm using kind of like the bold light here, that thing there. Maybe bold is just too much. Maybe medium is a little bit better. But then I'm just hoping that there's enough contrast between the two. So, something to think about. Alright, so we got that there. Maybe there's something else we can add here down towards the bottom. Maybe some more information. I think that maybe I can add some like project info. Or maybe not. Trying to think of what I can do. I mean, I want to use. I think if I just work with lorem ipsum for now, it's gonna make a little bit more sense because I'm throwing myself off with this text that I wrote. Okay, so because my idea is to use like quotes at the beginning, and if I'm using like the text that I wrote for my other project, it's gonna kind of throw me off. All right, so. This is kind of just showing me where that bend in the book would be, so I was just kind of seeing what it looks like there. I think that's fine. Alright, so we got this guy here. What else can I do? Any ideas on how to make this a little bit more unique? A little bit more kind of like that that typography board that I was showing you? No keywords when you go up here, would they? Hey, Evan, how's it going? Nice of you to stop by the stream. Hopefully I'm not being too boring. I'm like doing I'm doing like a total like work session where I'm just like pretty much like just doing exactly what I would be doing today, but just decided to stream it. my goal is to kind of, so I'm working on my portfolio, and my goal was to kind of document the whole process of me kind of creating my portfolio. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Is I'm working on designing my portfolio book. I don't know if you ever had to make a book or anything when you were at the academy. Because in the graphic design department, we have to kind of create this book, and the instructor that's been doing these books has been there for 19 years or so. So she was probably there when you were at the school. I know you were a different major though, so I don't know what the web new media department does for portfolios. I've been over in the building over there a couple times over at 180, and it looks like that they do just like a web-based portfolio, which makes sense because it's new media, right? Made one for print at Cal State. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I mean, this teacher here is like known for like making her students create like really kind of elaborate hardcover books. So that's kind of what I'm designing, is just kind of figuring out what the book layout looks like. This is only my second round of design, so I'm hoping that I can kind of latch onto something soon, so that way I can just start really refining it instead of just sort of the scattershot thing that I'm doing right now. Because we got the spring show coming up here in May, and it's actually, I think, almost a month before the semester ends, which means that I have a month less to do all of the stuff than I normally would have, and that's fun. Woo! Most important class of my time at school, and I gotta do it in a third of the time, or 2/3 of the time, right? So anyways, so I'm kind of creating like what the little section openers introducing each project looks like, and I'm hitting a roadblock with this design. I'm thinking I'm just going to take something else from one of my other sketches and go forward with that design instead. Yeah, New Montgomery, that's where it's at. Eating a lot of Chipotle and Jamba Juice. that's all that's there. Is the show open? Yeah, so the show is open to the public. It's the so the spring show is like the really big show of the school, and I think opening night is like the main night. That's where it's at. You can actually go see everything else for at least, I think, a month or so after that. But that's sort of just kind of like walking in, kind of doing your own thing. Probably be as busy as an antique shop on a Monday afternoon. Is that a good analogy? I don't know. But the main action happens on the opening night, which I believe is, let me look up the phone, look up the calendar. I think it's like May 17th or something like that. From like 7 p.m. to like, yeah, so I think it's May 17th, yeah, is from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. A really big event. Every major from the school is there. They do it in kind of one of the warehouse buildings. It's a cool event. I'm going to be there the whole day pretty much, because they have different recruiters and people from different agencies come in looking at your work, looking to hire people. So kind of a big day for me. So that's why I'm kind of like freaking out, because I got to create this beautiful portfolio and get it printed and everything. And I got 13 weeks to get this done, which means I have about 10 weeks to finish it, like the design, so that way it can go to production and get printed and bound. So yeah, it's open to the public. It's kind of a big deal at the school. I was there last year. I got my that beer project that I used some of your illustrations for was in the show, and that was actually really cool, because as soon as you walk into the show, they got like the big old red carpet and everything, and right off to the right hand side, like very first thing that you see is the graphic design section. And my thing was like the beer project was like straight, like first thing you see in graphic design. So I thought that was really cool. Like I kind of had a front row sort of spot for my work, and it was also on display at 79 New Montgomery for a while, on the 5th floor there. So that was cool. I actually need to go pick up that project from the school this week, so that way I can start photographing it. I got a little studio in my garage. I've taken over the garage for the next few months so I can photograph everything. All right, I'm like doing nothing on this spread. I'm like just sitting here doing nothing. All right, so what did I want to do? I got some other spreads here that I really kind of like the typography on. that I wanted to kind of translate to some of these other spreads. I think I'll leave this guy here for now, and then we'll kind of see what happens later. So, all right. So I had some other ideas over here on the sketches. This one here, the first spread's not going to look like much. The idea is mainly going to have to be done in Photoshop. But the idea here is to kind of create... So, I have this really cool book over here by Mohawk. It's their Maker Quarterlies. And my idea was to do something similar to this. Let me get a good example. This here. So this is sort of their chapter openers here. And it's a very sort of abstract style of just putting the number 4 on a page, which I think is really cool, right? There's like all this cool art that goes around it. And so my idea is to do something similar to this for my work, because I think that it's a really kind of cool idea to have the chapter opener relate to the project itself, rather than being completely kind of boring and bland, which is kind of what I was thinking. But to have some really kind of cool, like, abstract art around the sort of look and feel of my project. So that's the idea for that. So I'm just going to leave this as an InDesign placeholder. It's just kind of having this blank with sort of that idea in mind. But what I do need to do is I need to do the running head and the navigation for this page. So I kind of had like a centered idea for the navigation on that. So I had an example of it up here that I was thinking of doing, because just to kind of swipe this idea, they did it. Okay, so a little bit smaller than what I was thinking. So that's actually pretty straightforward then. I'll just take something from over here, because I like this, how these ones were looking. And we'll just sort of paste these right on top. So with these ones here, I want to have them centered. So we'll change that to centered. You don't even need to click on the text. No. Alright, then these we will just align to page, centered. Oh, what am I doing? So Evan, when are you gonna stream again? I know you had some technical difficulties last time, so I'm hoping that hasn't thrown you off the idea of streaming. It was my favorite way to waste time at work, which is is to watch you stream. I always like keep you like in a different tab, and when the boss walks by, I like switch it back to what I'm supposed to be working on. So if I ever get fired, it's your fault. Actually, I already have a comeback for if he ever's like, what are you watching? Like, I'm like, oh, I'm watching a design tutorial so I can do my job better. that's my comeback. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it yet. Your TV was just sporadically hibernating. Oh, that's a bummer. I hate it when computer troubles are the worst. I get really frustrated. I was getting kind of frustrated in my last stream because Photoshop was not working for some reason. Everything else was working perfectly fine, but Photoshop was not having it. I was like doing some Photoshop mockups, and I would try to do like the hue and saturation thing, and I was having it was fighting me. So, but I mean, I totally get it. No one wants to. If you're having computer issues, the last thing you want to do is live stream your frustration. So then, and these guys here, I think I'll do it on... I've done a lot of like reverse type, so I think I'm going to do this one as just on a white page. This is one of the things that I want to know is how do you change the text color of multiple text boxes at once in InDesign? Because like if I do this, right, I select all of them and I were to go up here and then change this, I would change this to black or it changes to whatever color, right? It just changes the color of the box itself and not actually the type. So I have to like go into each little box and then figure it out. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just something that I think would kind of save me time. So, and then the other, so what I wanted to do here was, and I don't need to use a new typeface on every single design here, do I? I just need to, I'll just do this. Alright, so I got this here, and this. I'm going to take these and then just sort of copy this down here. And I'm not using a grid either. My instructor would probably disagree and say that I should be using a grid right now, but I find using the grid just way too limiting when you're trying to just think of different ideas. I personally have a really big issue with the grid, especially early on, because I find myself getting locked into the grid, and I treat it much more like a prison than it as a tool than it should be used for. So that's sort of a problem that I have with the grid. Let's see. I really like this book to the point where this is probably going to be like what my portfolio ends up looking like, because everything about this book I love. It's sweet. So this is kind of what I was thinking on this side. So this is like way too far. Something like this where you have a lot of really big type and then a small little section down here of some still bigger type, bigger than the body copy, but kind of like a second read. So something kind of along the lines of that, but not so out there. So what the first thing is I need to think about what I wanted this to say. So if this just has a number, right? This doesn't really have, maybe it'll have the project title somewhere over here. So if I have that big number, right, to kind of indicate what number project this is, maybe like really small underneath it. So what project am I using? I'm using Exquisite Embellishments. Last week we were working on the Destination Moon project, but just so that way I don't get too inspired by the look and feel of Destination Moon, I'm just sort of using a different project so that way my portfolio doesn't lean towards one project than the other, if that makes sense. What am I doing? I'm trying to do this. Make that the same text. Copy that. Put this here. Alright, so we have exquisite embellishments here. And we got, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. And then maybe up here somewhere, just as a placeholder. I want to try and do this in Photoshop, but we can just have maybe like a 1 right there, and then this will probably be like what, like 150. Still too small. 200, maybe a little bit bigger. 250. No, not 25, 250. Yeah, that works for now. And then maybe we'll keep it like that. Cool. Why does it not feel centered? We'll optically center that one. That's something to look out for. If you guys ever decide to center something, make sure that you always optically center it, because the automatic center thing might not always be the best to use. Because like this guy here, like it's centering the very center point of this one, which is right here. And then even since this is a text box too, this isn't 100% centering the one, because we have all this space over here to the right side of the one. But I wanted to center the center of this, the main sort of vertical bar of this one, right? So I want to kind of center that with the center point of this. So That goes up, so that would be like right above the M. Right in between the M and the B there, so that's kind of just something to look out for. And then also you want to kind of just one or two steps above perfectly horizontally center. I don't know what it is, it's some sort of optical illusion, but when you perfectly horizontally or vertically center something, so like this might be perfectly centered right there, but it's a good idea to just kind of bump it up a little bit. At least that's what I've been told, and it always seems to kind of stay true. So this is sort of the idea for this at the moment. I know I want to do more of an abstract thing, but I just want to see what this looks like with an image in it. I actually did some photography yesterday. Like I said, I got my my garage kind of as a studio right now, and I'll show you what I did for one of my books that I just took some pictures of last night. So this is let's see. Okay, here's one. So there's one picture of what I did for my book. Oh, that's actually kind of cool too. It's just having the image there and then having this one kind of overlay it. Or if we did it kind of like in the bottom right corner over here, that would look cool. I'm trying to think how that would work for other projects though. Maybe that's an idea for another spread idea. But yeah, I did some photography here. I'll kind of show you what it looks like here. I got it. So this is one photo that I took. So this is the book that I actually designed, printed, comped up, and everything. This was actually, I think, this was my first try at making a perfect bound book, which I am just shocked on how easy it is to make a perfectly bound book. And perfect bound book is different than a perfectly bound book, because perfect bound is the method in which that's not perfect. It's just when you use a thin layer of glue to hold all the pages together, and that's really all it is. It's just a thin layer of glue that all the pages stick into, and it's really easy. The hardest part is just getting the pages to be even. So I actually took this to a local print shop, and they trimmed it for free, which was nice. The dude that works there was really cool. Unfortunately, he doesn't work there anymore, so now if I ever want to make a perfect bound book, I got to figure it out myself. So I'm not sitting there with an X-Acto knife trying to cut through, like, what was this, 30 pages. Here's another shot. You see my beautiful hand model over here. This is my fiance's hand. Let's see, and then we have another shot, which is the one that you guys just saw, which was this one here. And since this was like a student-made project, my book didn't want to stay open like that. For whatever reason, it didn't fan out like that at all. So what I did was I stuck in plastic knives on every sheet, and then that kind of created that little bit of a gap, so that way it fanned out, and I got this beautiful shot from it. I just think that was kind of really funny that I was able to find a fix. I'm like, I was just thinking, what if I put knives or pencil? My first idea was to put pencils in it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe a pencil doesn't work really good with a book that I really don't want to get messed up. So I decided to go with knives instead, and worked just as good. But yeah, so these are some pictures that I got using a little lighting setup that I got out of my garage. I got a softbox set off of Amazon, and it's working out great, saving me some money. I spent on total everything that I got was like $160, which is still a lot cheaper than spending like $150 an hour or something that a studio would charge you. So trying to keep this on a student budget. Alright, but without getting ahead of myself, we're just going to kind of keep that as a placeholder. And then for the type over here, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's not what I want to do. I wanted to do something like this other page here. So we will... I think that might be a little bit too close to the top there, but we will see. How big can we make this without this looking goofy? try with 50. But 50 might be too much. $60 is definitely too much for the leading. I always think that I need to use more leading for bigger type, but in reality, you should even use less than what you sort of do. Like if I just do 50, which is the same point size as the text itself, you don't want to be doing that, because like if this M was a B, there's actually it's not the worst. There's normally a lot of tension between the ascenders and descenders that you need to watch out for. I think that they should all be the same. And the cap height's actually it depends on the letter. If we do B, the cap height is a little bit lower than what the ascenders, whatever. You know, the taller letter, the taller letters, what those go to. But this actually isn't that bad. And you should always do it on a case-by-case basis, I think. Because obviously, if there aren't a lot of issues with this text here, so you could even make it smaller. I guess I wouldn't go smaller than the point size, but ideally, I always like to have this 2 or 4 points bigger than the typeface. So if the point size is 50 points, I like to have this at least 52 or 54. That's just me. Other people have preferences, but in this case, I think 52 would work. And then obviously that rag isn't good at all, but I'm going to go back through and do that later, just so that way I can focus more on this, on the main idea of it, so that way I'm not focusing on little minuscule details like that. And then, so I want to keep that guy there as well. Do I have anything I can align that to? Not yet. What do you guys think? That's what are they? They're using about 3.5 inches. Ooh, I get to use this for the first time. Hold on. I gotta put it right here. I got a really nerdy design gift for Christmas, but I really wanted it. It's I don't even know what this is actually called. It's essentially, or you're not gonna be able to see it. It's white. It's a ruler that you can use to kind of like put up to a magazine, and then you can see what point size all the letters are. It's got measurements for like picas and pixels. Over here on this side, it'll tell you how thick rules are. It goes all the way up from a hairline rule, which is a 1/4 inch, to a 12-point rule. So this is actually really neat. I picked it up on Amazon for, or actually somebody else picked it up on Amazon. It was a Christmas gift. It's on Amazon for only like $5. It's an add-on item, so it's not really expensive. You need to buy it with something else. But I thought it was really cool, and so I guess I can just use this to kind of see how big the letters are. Looks like that these are 19 or 18 points. Yeah, I would say 18 point is what those are at, and they're a 3 1/4 column size. So what are we at here? We're at 18 already. No, we're at 16. So let's bump that up to 16. It doesn't tell me for leading, I think. Oh, it does it? Maybe. Oh, sweet, it does. This thing is magic. How do I tell that? I don't think the leading only goes up to 15-point leading, which is kind of unfortunate. Oh well. I'm just using my best guess anyway. So if we're doing 18 point with let's say 22 20, 21, 22. I like to keep everything in even numbers for whatever reason. And this was a 3 1/4 width column. I'm not doing this as like a way to kind of copy what's already been done. I'm just doing this to kind of see what I like, see what works in a printed form, and then putting that on a page and then kind of seeing how I can design out of that. So, I mean, that's kind of like a process that I've kind of found that works for me, which is taking something that has been done and kind of using that as a starting point, right? It's not going to be what I use for my final project, or because that's plagiarism and just not best practice, but it's a way to kind of get me thinking. So anyways, so we got that there. I wanted to have some more text over here. What was it? Chaparral. We're going to keep it the chaparral. We'll kind of keep that in the back pocket for right now. It's using Minion. So that's using Minion. So what we're using Gotham there. Okay, so I just need to update this type here. So we're gonna use Gotham for right there. Go up to the recently used ones. Come on. I got a lot of typefaces. Gotham. Bold. Yeah, not too big of a difference. If you kind of see, you'll notice a little bit. I don't know if you're gonna be really gonna be able to tell, but that's Gotham, and then this is Proxima Nova still. Very similar typefaces, but just to kind of keep things consistent, I'm just gonna keep this as Gotham. You can see it got a little bit bigger. So look, watch. We're gonna make that change again. It gets a little bit bigger. Which isn't that big of a deal because this actually needs to be a little bit bigger anyways. Alright, so then we got that as Gotham. And what was I going to use? We will, okay, so we're using Chaparral for the running head, so we'll keep Chaparral for the body copy as well. What's the size difference on that? That looked like it got a lot smaller. I'm using 9. Okay, so let's use 9 again. 9 and 12. And then that was Justified. Did I keep my justification settings? No. If you guys ever do Justified type, go watch something called InDesigner episode 25. I think these are the numbers. It really helps with like, look at the difference what this makes. Okay, yeah, cool, it moved, but it actually makes a lot of it makes a big impact. It helps for the better. So I would suggest, yeah, go watch. It's called InDesigner episode 25. It's a I mean, you can watch the whole video if you want, but the main important part is just the idea that you change that one setting when you use Justify type. It helps me a lot. People ask me like why I use Justify type. I actually find it to be a lot easier. Most designers will tell you that it's harder to use because you have to look out for rivers. I personally find it to be a whole lot easier because you can just set it to Justified. Automatically, that looks good. And if you use those numbers, you're not going to have really awkward settings. Like if you look at a newspaper, newspapers have terrible typography. It's just anything you can fit into the smallest space possible is what newspapers do, and that's fine. That's their thing. But in design, you kind of want to have a little bit more. Whoa! What did I do? Damn it! Who was the one that decides that Control S is save and Control W is close? Doesn't that seem a little problematic? Oh my god, hopefully that's saved. I don't remember the last time I saved it. Let's see, is that the right one? No, that's the old one. It's already open. Okay, here, hold on guys. Hopefully we didn't just lose everything. Lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, okay. There we go, we're cool. I think... Okay, so what I was saying was I think that doing justified type is a lot easier. Just because you set it justified, off the bat it looks good. Something that you need to do is you need to print out the sheets. And this is my way of doing it. You got to print out the sheets and check for rivers. Which rivers are, like if I were to look at this, they are the little bits of like... You're going to think, if you guys don't know what these are already, you're going to think this is crazy. It's the spaces of white space, the spaces in between words, and if you can follow them down enough, so like look, this could be like one river right here. So like that could be a river. That's supposed to go down here. So that could be a river. It's 3 lines or more, which is the rule of thumb. Oh, here's another one I just saw. Another one kind of like right there. So that's something that you kind of want to look out for. Here's a really bad one, I guess, which is like right here. Which, I mean, these aren't like huge deals. Most people don't even care about this stuff anyways, but this is a designer thing to think about. But the point is that it's easier to see those when it's already printed out, and you kind of do this sort of thing where you like put the sheet up and then you try to look at the paragraphs like this, and then it's a lot easier to see them at that point. So that's the downside of justified type that a lot of people don't want to put up with. So, anyways, I think this is looking kind of cool. Now we just got to kind of refine this a little bit and make this look better. Dang it, my dock keeps moving. I mean, you guys can't see it because my little stay connected, or it's over here. The little stay connected bar right here is covering it, but my dock goes back and forth between one screen and the next, and it throws everything off that I have over here. Anyways, haven't you been working on anything cool lately? If you're still here. Please still be here. No. I see you've been posting a lot of stuff on Twitter for, I forget what the name of it's called, but you've been doing like a clothing line or something like that. Oh my god, Twitter has been like the thing that's been slowest for me lately, and I don't know why. Every website works fine, but Twitter's been like the one thing that works really slow. Alright, so, okay, what are we doing now? Looking at my sketch, what do we got? We got a paragraph here that we want to use. Looking at this design again a little closely. So if we put something here, what's that going to be? This is going to be some sort of a quote. So we will need to attribute that quote to somebody. Let me just get a quote real quick. Been using Steve for the other quotes, so we'll stick with Steve. Maybe it's something a little bit shorter than the other one. Steve actually has a lot of really good longer quotes. Oh, here's a perfect one. Okay, this is like my mantra. This is my favorite quote of all time. Stay hung. You guys already know what this quote is. This is famous quote from him. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And maybe we can do this little ping-ponging thing that the other place is doing. Don't know what the significance of kind of doing the left align, right align thing is yet, but I think it's cool. It kind of moves your eye across the page, and I'm forgetting the eye there, aren't I? I'm foolish enough to spell foolish wrong. Can we make this bigger? Too big, too big. I want to kind of get it the same width as this. There it goes. So 66 is where we're at. And let's do 68. So this one here, I think we should use a little bit more of a top margin. You'll see what I'm kind of thinking in a second here. Let me just make this change real quick, and then we'll kind of see what this ends up looking like. This doesn't need to repeat the project name. That could be my name. Okay, what was going on there? We'll copy that. Just adding gibberish words here, making it look a little prettier. Okay, so now we got that. So that's a hyphen. That's an M dash, I think. I don't know. I just want to get the key. I get it sometimes. Let me see if I can just Google it. M dash. I went from using my Apple computer keyboard, like the one that Apple gives you, to using my Razer one that I use mainly for gaming. I always have a hard time getting the combinations down because it gets rid of the Apple button and it gives you the Windows button instead. Okay, so those are the same. What does the N dash look like then? Does Chaparral only have one dash? Yeah, it looks like that they only got... That's weird. It doesn't have an M dash. So that means I need to do this. Do we like italic? No italic? I say no italic. I think, I mean, in my head I want to use like a dual sort of typeface little thing here. So maybe something like something along the lines of that. And then not a true dash, but we can just kind of do something like this. And then that leaves the question for what does this stick to? What is like... This has got to be horizontally aligned to something. I don't know. I mean, it looks good. I think that looks kind of nice. I think it's just that this quote doesn't have a whole lot of content to it. It's a very short quote. That's why it's not kind of getting the look that I wanted it to have. But that's fine. We need to design this in a way so that way it can work with any sort of style quote. That's something to figure out at a later date, I think. This just needs to kind of look... For the purposes of this week's assignment, I just want to make sure that it looks good and the idea is there. But then later on we can kind of go back and look to see if any of the details need to be moved around. Okay, so I mean everything at this point is working up. These here. This is helping. Okay, here we go. We're on to something now. Nope. Okay, there we go. I think this looks good. Still feel like there's a lot of empty space around here, but maybe what can I do with the empty space? Maybe that's where some of like the handwritten elements come into play. Like I was thinking of something like this sort of thing, or kind of like up here where there's like stuff stretched out. Maybe that's something that we can kind of include. We'll see. For now, I think this spread here looks fine. It works. So yeah, let's do that. Maybe, and then I'm not too sure about this guy yet. Like, how can I take my designs, and that's like a whole nother project in itself. Is just doing like some abstract form, or does it need to be some abstract form? I think that would be best. I'm trying to convince myself that something easier would be the best route to go, but I think that we got some work ahead of us if we want to do that for 10 different projects. I mean, even if it's not something crazy, the thing that I like best is that... Yeah, let me make this a little bit bigger. Actually, I could probably find this online somewhere. The thing that I like is that, like, if you look at the number here, like that 4... is a little bit different than like this 1. They all work together, but they're all like individual letters that have their own characters, and they probably could have been all taken from the same typeface, especially this 2 here. Look at this 2. So I mean, it's cool, but then how can I use that for my own work? So let's go back here. That's something. We'll think about that in Photoshop, because I got like a lot of. Let's see. If I'm doing this for my cookbook one, what can I do? I have. Let me pull up that file. It was fall 2016 is when I created that. Let's see if I have the final PDF. No. I don't think this is the final PDF, but I'll just show you kind of this file here. Oh wait, here this is even better. This is the test sheet that I printed for that book. So I have all these cool little patterns that I'm using, and imagery as well. So maybe I could do something that kind of incorporates all of this together. That would be cool. This is a very Victorian style book, and I think the best way that I can describe this, if like the 21st century and grandma's cookbook had like a baby, this is what it would look like. I think it was kind of cool typography, very cool imagery using like duotones and stuff like that, but using that for a like a cool sort of design. And it ended up looking really cool. Here are the sort of spreads that I used for that book. Dedication. Here is, how do I just change pages? Introduction. I'll just go through these really quick. So this is kind of like introduction, the tools and equipment that you would need for this cookbook. This cookbook is supposed to be like a very elaborate sort of cookbook where it's like very fancy cakes. This isn't something that you just decide to do on a Sunday morning. This is something that you do if like you're going to cook a cake for a wedding and you want to have a really cool design. Or if you're just curious, if you're really into cakes, this is something that you would use. Background, sort of on the Victorian period. And then just this chick's got totally crazy eyes. So that would be like a page break. This is the chapter opener of the book. And it's a very sort of repetitive process, but that's what cookbooks are, right? You don't want to switch it up too much because you want to know what everything is. Whereas like another book, like my other typography project, is kind of all fun. You kind of do whatever you want. This was something that's supposed to be a little bit more structured. So this would be like the new recipe. This is talking about... Oh, these are just talking about the decorating techniques. This talks about using royal icing, making piping bags, and this is like the one big cake. So you can see how elaborate some of these designs are. But what I try to do is, I don't even really know how to describe it anymore. I had a good way of describing it at the time, but I guess the best that I can come up with at the moment is sort of like an edgy, sort of old, like using a Victorian style, but kind of like reinterpreting it in today's sort of design style, which is like duotones, patterns. So that was sort of my idea for this. And I used a really nice paper that was really textured, and it really just made all this look really nice. So this is what I was using for those pictures that I showed you. It's just very repetitive at some point. Oh, this is what I changed. I had to make the index 2 pages. And then sort of like my colophon. And that's it. So this, one of these spreads here, this spread here is that one that you guys saw in the photo, which was some of the pictures that I took. So that was this. So it was a nice book. I liked it a lot. And I think taking these pictures really brings the design to life. Like a lot. I took a lot of other pictures too. I took some shots like this. Took a couple shots like this. Didn't really like how those were looking. I felt it was a little bit better than... I felt it was better like at an angle like that. I tried doing shots like that. These are all unedited as well. I had some ideas for some shots that I wanted to kind of mimic that I saw have been done before for books. But actually I think that some of these shots turned out a lot better. So yeah, it was a fun project. Actually, if you look at some of these shots, this one right here, you can see the plastic knife in between the pages. If you look real closely, you can see the plastic knife right there. So that's another reason why. Oh, and then also on this one here, you can see all the knives in between. So that's another reason why I decided to go with this sort of shot. Alright, anyways. Oh, I'm getting tired. I've been designing for the whole weekend. I think we're just going to kind of leave that for now, and then we'll kind of come back to it. I think this needs to have some sort of a colored background though. I'm just using it as black for now. It might end up looking good as black. Be keeping it that way, but the idea is to have this reflect whatever color is very prevalent in this sort of spread here. I mean, even that looks a lot better now that there's... It really helps with the contrast. Is this like a proper 2/3? I don't think it's that big of a deal. Or just 1/3 maybe? It's probably too little type. What does that look like if I have a picture just like that? It's kind of interesting, right? Rather than having nothing. This isn't my own work, but I'm just looking to see what this would look like with other projects. This is sort of like some inspiration that I took online just for how to sort of pose your products. So this next week I'm going to be taking pictures of beer. I like this style a lot. Alright, cool, sweet. I like this. This one looks good. Maybe we can see if we can do one more. Need some water though. I've been streaming for what, almost 2 hours now, and I haven't had a sip of water. This next one that I want to do, I think I can actually use with a lot of the similar elements that I have, and it should be actually pretty easy to do. This one here is actually going to be a 3-spread layout. So that's going to be there. This is going to be the picture. That's going to be a picture. And did I have this as reverse? I should have taken better notes. I think I wanted to have that reversed out. Looking at these designs here, it looks like I'm doing a lot of the reversed out. And you might be kind of thinking it's getting kind of repetitive to have that much reversed out. But my thinking is that I'm going to have a lot of spreads in my actual portfolio book that are just a white background or a full image, and then all these images are going to have the sort of white background photo studio look. So I'm planning to have a lot of white already throughout the book, and that's why I'm sort of designing these with a black layout or a black background, so that way it breaks that up. Because if I have this as being white, then I'm gonna have to find some other way to kind of break that up throughout the book, and that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to have these sort of be sort of like a break, right? And so that's my thought process. In case in the back of your mind you're kind of wondering, like, oh, throwing a black background again. That's sort of predicted. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. So this guy here is going to be an image there, and that's just for now. We'll kind of just copy these guys and copy that. So I guess we can kind of go off the same style here. See if this looks good. I am thinking I might end up needing to redo it, but hey, we'll see. Interesting. I mean, I didn't think to use Roman numerals, but I think Roman numerals might be kind of cool. How do you do Roman numerals, though, in InDesign? Ooh, I do not like the numbers for this typeface. Anyone notice my shirt? I think this is a funny shirt. It says, "This is a designer t-shirt because it's black and it uses Helvetica." That's funny. I mean, that's actually very true with kind of what I'm doing right now. Is big sans serif, black background. I am the cliche designer. I wanted to use another typeface called Freight. Okay, so this isn't, I don't know what project this is going to be, but just for the sake of just demonstrating that this would be Roman numerals, I'm going to keep it like that. And then we need to make this, what is that, Gearmon? What does this look like? Chaperone. It's kind of an ugly character, isn't it? Even Garemon's a little bouncier than... I don't know. Is that bouncy? No, it's a little bit more wavy than I wanted. It's not as chiseled as I thought it would look at it. Hoffler is a little bit better. about this freight? I've been hearing things about freight. Freight book. There's a lot more weights to this that I could probably use. I'm gonna try it out. See if I like it. I needed to go to Typekit though and download the other ones. How do you spell freight? Am I doing this wrong? F-R-E... Oh, I did the I first. F-R-E-I-G-T. Cool, I think I got it set up. So now let's see if it'll sync into here right away. I'm hoping it's the same freight. Freight text pro. Okay, so I got freight display and I got freight text. Okay, so can I use... What the heck? What am I doing? Why are those not centered? I have this mistake where I like accidentally copied again instead of pasting over it. So then I have to go back and recopy and... Alright, so that's that. Sorry if it's loud. My neighbors are getting their roof redone, so it's been like really loud. Cool. I I think maybe this guy could be bigger. And what this Roman numeral indicates is just that it's the new project. Alright, so we got that. It's a little bit different than my initial sketch. This was my initial sketch for what I wanted this spread to look like. So that was what my sketch looked like. Kind of having like a big title, something a little bit underneath it, and then having the big number over here. The image was still the same, but having this kind of was a little bit different. I think it's just a little bit too overpowering to have a number that big. Now what I want to do is I want to have this full width image. So that guy would be there. I wanted to do one more set for this and have this be like a 3-0 or a 3-0. I was thinking like a one-off, and then but like 3. I don't know what that, I don't know what that was. The idea is to have this be a 3-spread chapter opener. I was thinking about how I wanted to lay this out, and I was thinking it might make more sense to have the book or the project title somewhere else and have the quote somewhere else. I'm just going to make this as a new sort of design. I mean, the more the merrier designs. Let's see if we can just kind of put this back to how it was. Okay, so that's going to be like that. And then down here somewhere we'll add these. Alright, I think this one's kind of a... It's looking a little interesting. Still can't get this right. M dash. Okay. If you guys didn't know, there's actually different size dashes that you need to use for specific things. You were doing a span between two numbers. You want it to be an N dash, and I think that's what I was using. Yeah, an N dash is a slightly bigger than a hyphen, and then the biggest one is an M dash, which you use for like quotes or yeah, you mainly just use it for quotes, but yeah, it's important to kind of know the differences between them. It's what Ellen Lupton would call a type crime if you use the wrong one. I don't know. I'm having issues like trying to figure some of this stuff out. I'm thinking like some of this stuff looks cool, but I'm like always kind of like rethinking it. I think I'm just gonna let this one kind of sit and kind of marinate for now. I'm gonna go back and kind of finish this one. I got sidetracked and got stuck with that one. So okay, so this is where we're at for this one. We start off with this page here. There's too much leading in this one. Is there? 68. For that one particular quote, we can just do the same. Okay, so we got that. And then we're going to go to a full page image here. And then here, let's change these page numbers here really quick, so that way we can keep this all organized after we get these printed out. We'll go to 6. And alright. So now I wanted to add some text. So I have some text that I already really like that I had up here that we can just go ahead and just copy and just place over here. I think that looks the best. Okay, so now what do I want to do? So let's see, what am I for design so far? I forgot. Here, let's go back to the very beginning. We have, so considering each of these sort of pairs as one design, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're kind of working on a sixth, yeah. And I wanted to kind of rework one of these here. I wanted to rework this one. I really like this one, and I need to kind of rework this to figure out how I can make this work. Did I ever get to make that black on this one? I did. I forgot that. Do I need it though? Do I need it there? Maybe? Okay, so that one's kind of a work in progress. Not really digging the type on that one too much. What can I do to this guy here to make this one a little bit more, a little different, you know? Yeah, Spaceman. This was this was for a project I actually did in like typography, or no wait, it was one of my second year classes, and I just had so much fun with it. I did like this sort of like cool glitch thing, if you haven't been able to figure out by now, I really like doing like the duotone type of thing. The project was called Destination Moon. It was like exhibition design. I actually did an environmental graphics tutorial on my YouTube channel, just kind of showing how I did the environmental graphics for this project. Anyways, but yeah, it was a fun project. It was actually on display at my school for almost 2 years, which was kind of cool because I had at one point I had 4 of my projects on display, which I think is kind of unheard of at my school. It's just because, you know, they're always taking out the old projects and putting in the new ones and just kind of keeping it fresh. But this project was in there for 2 years, so I actually need to go pick that up this week because there's some things that I want to take pictures of. Anyways, yeah, that was for that project. It was a fun project. I actually have the poster hanging up in my room over kind of like back into this area. You can kind of see the corner of it. I have the poster right there. Yeah, so I actually did a lot for that project. I did a website, app, a book. Well, not like a full-on book, but like a little brochure, a poster, and a whole bunch of other various sort of like applications. The main point to this project was to kind of just learn how graphic design can be used in a system. So, and again, this was like, I did this project back in like 2015, I want to say. So way back then. But anyways, so I have this design here. This is what I turned in last week. And aside from like some small typography issues with this being a little heavy, I'll do that in a second. I need to figure out a way to kind of push this a little bit farther so that way it's more aligned with sort of my type board that I created. And I'm trying to think of some ways that I can do that. I think handwritten type needs to come in here somehow. I've been kind of procrastinating on that because I need to take out the old tablet and everything and start drawing, and I find it easier to do kind of off stream because I'm like, I draw and I delete it, I draw, delete, and then until I get something that I like. I thought about just using it like an actual marker and then scanning it in, which I might end up doing. I just don't know what I would use the handwritten type for, which is the issue. Because I have kind of going through my checklist here. I got the running head, got the project name, I got the instructor and all the other little design specs here, my description and concept. So just to kind of keep this aligned with everything else, I'm just going to make this all black before I figure out color. It's going to distract me. What else can I do though? I'm like totally hitting like a creative block right now. This is what happens when, I mean, I've been streaming now for almost 2.5 hours, and this is just a fraction of what I've been doing all day. I've been like if anyone out there just designs for a living, you guys know, like, you've been doing this for so long and then you finally just get bored, and maybe I need a video game break. I feel like I'm totally the guy that like will go and like play video games for a little bit just to recharge, and then I'm a lot more productive, and I think I'm hitting that point. So I'm thinking I might want to just sort of like cut the stream off at this point, so that way I can come back later and be a little bit more exciting than I am right now. I feel like I'm hitting a wall, and I'm not getting past it because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, but it needs to like work. That's like the way to say it. My brain's slowing down because I'm thinking that I'm setting up like a nice sort of like roadmap for where I want to go, but now I need to spice things up a bit, make it a little bit more exciting. I'm sensing something kind of cool with here. It's a little bit more dynamic than the other pages. So that's what I'm kind of liking about this spread. I imagine some sort of like handwritten element kind of coming in here and doing some sort of wavy thing, but just I can make it look really cool, but I just don't know why I would do that, right? Like coming up with a purpose for something rather than it just being decoration. This one here is gonna be some work. This one here I said I would come back to. I'm just afraid to kind of turn in the same thing again, which I'm worried that this is. At the same time, all my designs last week I don't want to just throw out. Maybe that's an issue, but I think that there's something to them. And then this guy here too. This is obviously like a very first rendition of the work for this week. And then I really like sort of the running head in this sort of like tab on the side of the page. My initial idea was that this would kind of be like a color, and like, not that any of my projects are yellow, but like if one project, its main color was yellow, there would be this tab on every single page. But then, I mean, if you're doing that with sort of like the gallery style images, and what I mean by that is I would have, let's see, this is kind of what a spread might look like in the actual book itself. So I would have that there. Maybe like an image here. No. Alright, why is there... I didn't do a stroke. Okay, so that's there. And then maybe this guy here. Not saying that this is like the final thing, but just as kind of like an idea. Maybe something more like this. So then I would have that. The good old creative energy wall, yeah. I was watching, okay, so I was watching a live stream with Aaron Draplin in it. And Aaron Draplin, like, I forget what his exact response was, but it was just hilarious what his thoughts are on creative block. And he was talking, it's like, yeah, whenever somebody says creative block, he gets like frustrated about it, because he's like, what if you hire like an electrician to come into your house, or like a plumber, you hire a plumber to come into your house, and he said, hey, like, look, I need my toilet fixed, my toilet's not working. And if that plumber's response was, you know, I'd love to, man, but I'm just really hitting a plumber's block right now. And he's like, no, you're like, graphic designers, you got a job to do. Like, whatever you got to do it, get over whatever problems you're having, because you got to do your work. And like, you can't just like, oh, creative block, and then I need to take some time to meditate or do whatever. But I think that design's a little bit different than being like a plumber or something. Plumber is like, you know what you got to do. It's just a matter of doing it. Graphic design, it's kind of the same, but there's a lot more thought process that goes into it. Or like creative thought process, I guess. I don't want to offend any plumbers out there. Anyway, so what I was saying was this would kind of be like an example of like what a spread would look like. What am I doing? Oh, it's not taking the raw photo. So this would be a spread, and maybe something like this. But Aaron Draplin, that's a funny dude. Cool dude also. He tells it how it is. He doesn't try to be fake or anything like that. He's cool. He's like one of the famous designers in the world, so hopefully you know who he is. So this is kind of what I was thinking. Is like very minimal. This isn't like what I would actually use, but just the idea that most of the book is just going to be white with a couple pictures on it. So I don't want this whole black bar right here to kind of detract from everything. I want it to focus on the images and not the black bar. Why is it still pixelated? Whatever. So yeah, that's kind of what I was saying is, oh, there it goes. I didn't want to have that sort of like colored bar or setting up a system like that take away from the rest of the book. Oh yeah. What's the book called? Draplin, everything Draplin, or everything Aaron Draplin? Oh no, what did I do? Okay. I have this problem in InDesign a lot. If I add a new page early on in the document, after having a whole lot of stuff afterwards, it shifts everything over, and I don't know what the deal is. It's annoying. There we go. I need to get Aaron's book. I got a lot of cool design books, and this is one of the ones I don't have. Evan, you got any of Sagmeister's books? That dude's got some cool books. That's one of the designers that is a little bit on the edge, border of being crazy. He does a lot of weird things. For one, I forget what exactly it was for, but he did a. Let me see if I can pull it up. So Stefan Sagmeister, really famous designer out of New York. So yeah, I don't know what this was for, but he did, like, yeah, you're already wondering what this is. He was given the task to create some sort of, maybe like a concert, some sort of event invitation. And so his way of doing that was he just scratched it onto his body and using like a knife or something. And it was just nuts. This happened a long time ago, I think before I was even born, but yeah, crazy. Just the way his mind works. He does a lot of cool stuff. Him and Jessica Walsh work together. This is her right here. They're creative partners. Very sort of out there graphic design. This isn't like the sort of like design a church brochure. These are the people that if you want to make impact, if you want to look for, if you want to go big, go with them, because they do some crazy stuff together. Yeah, I think this is the it's the dog book. I mean, this is one of them. This is everything that I've learned in my life so far, I think is what the title of this book is called. I don't have this book actually. I have the dog book, and I have his movie, and that's all that I have of him so far. But he's one of the, yeah, this is it. Things I have learned so far, or something like that. I can't read it smaller down there. But this is cool. This is a sleeve, and then inside the sleeve are like 4 or 5 different little mini books. And it changes what the outside of the book looks like every time you do it, because this is die cut. Anyways. So yeah, well, I think I'm going to kind of cut it off right there. I'm going to go take a little break and maybe kind of brainstorm about this a little bit, and then hopefully maybe either stream again tomorrow night or Thursday. I still need to work on developing a schedule. I know that's that's an important thing to do on Twitch, but I've just been kind of just sporadically streaming. But yeah, I think that we've got some good ideas, and it's just a matter of just kind of just roughing out the edges. Or is that smoothing out the edges, smoothing out the rough edges? I gotta go. All right. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you, Evan, for stopping by. Hopefully, we'll see you streaming sometime soon. And yeah. So, thanks again. Make sure to follow me on Twitter if you guys aren't already, because that's where I announce if I'm going live or not. So that's kind of the best way to do it until I develop some sort of a schedule. But yeah, so yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you guys later.